Chosen ones, listen with the deepest part of your spirit, because this is not a casual message, and it is not arriving by accident. Something has already shifted in the invisible architecture around your life. Before you saw any evidence, before the door opened, before the call came, before the outcome became visible in the physical world, your name was already carried into a place of consequence. Your name was already spoken in a decision that matters. Pause and feel the gravity of that. There are moments when life moves quietly, and then there are moments when all creation seems to hold its breath, because a turning point has been reached. This is one of those moments. This is the kind of moment that does not begin with noise. It begins in silence. It begins in rooms you cannot see, in thoughts you did not plant, in conversations you were never invited into, and yet somehow, impossibly, your name enters anyway. Not by force, not by begging, not by performance, but by the weight of what you have become in secret. Something about your endurance has spoken for you. Something about your restraint has represented you. Something about your obedience to what felt right, even when it cost you comfort, has traveled farther than your own voice ever could. That is why this message is so important. Because while you were wondering whether you had been forgotten, whether your season had passed, whether your labor had dissolved into emptiness, there was movement, higher movement, deeper movement, timed movement. Your name has been spoken where outcomes are shaped. Let that settle into your chest. This is not about shallow recognition. This is not about being seen for applause. This is about being named in the middle of a serious turning point. A decision, a selection, a shift, a realignment. Something important was being weighed, and in the midst of that weighing, your name rose. Not because you shouted the loudest, not because you demanded attention, but because who you are has become impossible to ignore in the realms that matter most. There is a kind of mention that changes everything. It is the mention that comes after you have been tested by delay, after you have been refined by disappointment, after you have outgrown the need to prove yourself to people who were never assigned to understand you. There is a kind of mention that arrives only when your spirit can carry the consequence of being chosen, and chosen ones, that is the atmosphere surrounding you now. So do not scroll past this moment in your own life. Do not treat this like another passing sentence. Receive it with the seriousness it deserves. Stay present, stay open, and before this message goes deeper, take a moment to like this video, subscribe, activate the notification bell, leave a comment, and share this video with someone who needs to hear that their name has not been lost in the silence. Because some messages do not merely inform you, they awaken you. Now breathe deeply, because what you are about to understand is this. Your name was not spoken casually. It was spoken in connection with something that carries weight. And once your name has entered that kind of decision, your life can no longer remain small in the way it was before. Part 1. Your name entered the room before you did. There is a mysterious power in the moment your name enters a room before your body ever arrives. That is what is happening here. Your life has reached a point where your presence is no longer limited to where your feet stand. What you have carried inwardly has begun to move outwardly. Your essence has preceded you, your character has gone ahead of you. Your unseen consistency has introduced you in places your hands never knocked on. This is why the season you are in has felt so strange. On one hand, the outer evidence may have seemed delayed. On the other hand, deep within yourself, you have sensed an unusual stirring, as if something is being arranged behind a curtain. That sensation was not your imagination. It was your spirit picking up on the truth that your life was already being discussed at a level beyond your sight. Many people think doors only open when they push hard enough, but there is another law at work in deeper living. Sometimes the real door begins opening when your name is spoken by the right voice, in the right atmosphere, at the right moment. Sometimes you do not get to witness the first movement. Sometimes the first sign is not visible opportunity, but invisible mention. An invisible mention is often more powerful than visible hustle, because what begins in depth tends to endure longer than what begins in display. Understand this clearly. Not every mention carries power. Some people say your name and it changes nothing. Some people mention you only to measure you against their own insecurity. Some people say your name with doubt, suspicion, or shallow curiosity. But there is a kind of mention that alters direction. It is the kind of mention spoken during evaluation, during selection, during a moment when paths are being separated and futures are being weighed. That is the kind of mention this message is pointing to. Your name did not drift into that decision by coincidence. It was carried by evidence. Evidence not always seen by human eyes, but felt in the fabric of your journey. The evidence of how you stayed when leaving would have been easier. The evidence of how you restrained yourself when your pain wanted to become bitterness. The evidence of how you kept honoring your path even when no one celebrated your discipline. The evidence of how you survived seasons that should have broken your inner music, but somehow you kept a pulse of hope alive. That evidence has a voice, and when the moment of importance arrived, that voice said your name. Chosen ones, there is comfort in knowing that the most important introductions are not always the ones you make with your mouth. Some introductions are made by your endurance. Some are made by your maturity. Some are made by the kind of peace you had to bleed for. Some are made by the dignity with which you carried unanswered questions. And because of that, what is coming toward you is not random favor. It is aligned recognition. This is why you must not panic if you cannot see the full picture yet. The first stage of your elevation is rarely public. It begins as whisper, not trumpet. It begins as movement in places you cannot monitor. It begins with your name being spoken among matters too important to be rushed. And because it begins there, you are being invited to trust the process more deeply than ever before. The room may be invisible to you now. The decision may still be unfolding. The outcome may still be approaching, but the crucial thing has already happened. Your name entered the room. And once your name enters the room with weight, the old story that said you would remain overlooked starts collapsing. You are no longer dealing with ordinary delay. You are dealing with sacred positioning. Part 2. They spoke your name because your spirit survived what was meant to shrink you. If your name has been spoken in something important, then it is necessary to understand why. Not for vanity, not for ego, but for clarity, because when a soul has been named in a moment of significance, there is always a deeper cause beneath it. And one of the deepest causes is this: your spirit survived what was designed to reduce it. Some people never realize how significant survival is when it is done with integrity. They think survival only matters if it looks dramatic from the outside. But the most powerful survival is often invisible. It is the survival of tenderness in a harsh season, the survival of inner truth in the middle of pressure, the survival of self-respect when others try to make you question your worth, the survival of purpose when life gave you enough reasons to become cynical. Chosen ones, your spirit has been through trials that did not merely inconvenience you. They confronted your identity. They challenged your timing. They tested your trust in the unseen order of your life. There were seasons when you were not simply waiting for an answer. You were being asked whether you would still remain aligned when the answer refused to come quickly. That kind of testing changes a person forever, and the unseen does not ignore that. The reason your name could be spoken in a decision of consequence is because you have become someone who can carry consequence without collapsing under it. You have been forged in hidden places. You have learned what it means to continue without applause. You have learned how to sit with uncertainty without betraying your inner knowing. You have learned how to let certain doors close without dragging your dignity behind them. These are not small lessons. These are the markings of a prepared soul. There are people who want significance, but they do not want refinement. They want access, but they do not want purification. They want mention, but they do not want transformation. But real elevation does not rest safely on an unprepared foundation. True importance requires inner architecture. It requires capacity. It requires emotional sobriety. It requires a spirit that has already faced fire and refused to become smoke. That is why your survival matters more than you realize. You did not survive merely to tell a dramatic story. You survived to become a trustworthy vessel for the next assignment. Every silent tear that taught you compassion, every disappointment that forced you inward, every delay that trained you not to worship speed, every heartbreak that separated your value from external approval, all of it built something inside you that now speaks on your behalf. So when your name was spoken, it was not spoken as a gamble. It was spoken as recognition. Recognition of depth. Recognition of readiness. Recognition of the fact that your life has already passed through enough internal weather to hold something weightier than before. This is why you must stop insulting your own process. Stop calling your shaping a waste. Stop imagining that the years of inner labor disappeared into nothing. Nothing has been lost. What you lived through has become substance. What you carried in silence has become credibility. What almost defeated you has become part of the authority you now carry. The mention of your name is proof that your pain did not only wound you, it also qualified you. That does not mean every hurt was good. It means none of it was empty. The seasons that made you feel hidden were building a kind of gravity within you, and gravity changes what can be entrusted to a person. The deeper the gravity, the greater the capacity to hold real significance without becoming intoxicated by it. So hear this clearly. Your name was spoken because you survived, but not merely because you survived. Your name was spoken because you survived with your essence intact. You did not become perfect. You became true. And truth, when refined by endurance, becomes magnetic in the chambers where real decisions are made. Part 3. The decision is bigger than visibility because it is tied to divine timing. There are times when the most important thing happening in your life is not what is visible, but what is being timed. This is one of those times. If your name has already been spoken in a crucial decision, then what you are standing inside is not random delay. You are standing inside timing, and timing is one of the holiest mechanics of transformation. So much unnecessary suffering comes from trying to force visible proof before the hour is ready. Human fear wants evidence immediately. It wants a sign it can hold, a result it can point to, an answer it can frame and display. But deeper life does not always move at the speed of panic. It moves at the speed of precision. And precision can look like silence to an impatient mind. Chosen ones, something is being synchronized around you. There are conversations, realizations, shifts of perception, rearrangements of energy, and openings of access that must align with each other before the fullness of what has been spoken over your name can land in a stable way. If it arrives too early, it may be mishandled. If it opens before the surrounding conditions mature, it may be misunderstood. If it comes before your inner life fully catches up to your future, you may sabotage what was meant to sustain you. This is why timing is mercy. There is wisdom in not receiving certain things the moment you first desire them. There is wisdom in being held back from premature arrival. There is wisdom in the invisible hand that says not yet, because your life is being positioned for something more exact than your current impatience can appreciate. The soul often thinks it is being ignored when, in truth, it is being protected from incomplete arrival. So when you hear that your name has already been spoken in an important decision, do not confuse that with immediate noise. The unseen often decides before the visible announces. The spiritual often confirms before the practical reveals. The deeper order of life moves from essence to event, from inner decree to outward manifestation. That means the mention of your name is not the end of the process. It is the turning point within the process. And turning points are sacred. This is the moment where the current beneath the surface changes direction, even before the waves above show it. This is the moment where what once resisted you begins, slowly and invisibly, to reorganize itself. This is the moment where what was closed does not always swing open instantly, but it stops being permanently shut. The current shifts first, the evidence follows. That is why you must not be careless with your energy right now. Do not let panic pollute the atmosphere of your expectation. Do not let bitterness distort your discernment. Do not let desperation push you into places that your true timing has not authorized. Because when a greater timing is unfolding, one of the greatest acts of obedience is to remain inwardly steady. This is not passive waiting. This is conscious alignment. It is the discipline of keeping your spirit clean while life is arranging itself around the word already spoken over your name. It is the choice to prepare instead of complain, to deepen instead of unravel, to strengthen your vessel instead of worshiping the clock, to honor the process instead of trying to break into a future that is still being prepared for your arrival. Remember this: a delayed visible outcome does not cancel an invisible decision. It often confirms that the decision is carrying enough importance to require proper timing. Your life is not being toyed with, it is being timed. And once you understand that, you stop interpreting silence as abandonment. You begin to recognize it as incubation. You begin to recognize that there are seasons when the greatest miracle is not immediate manifestation, but the holy restraint that ensures what arrives will remain. Your name has already been spoken. Now timing is escorting that word toward the world you can see. Part 4. Being named in that decision means the old version of you cannot go forward. There is another truth hidden inside this message, and it is not soft, but it is freeing. If your name has been spoken in something important, then the version of you that survived yesterday cannot remain unchanged tomorrow. Being named at a higher level always demands the death of something smaller. Elevation is never only addition, it is also surrender. This is where many souls become confused. They want the new mention, but they want to keep the old habits. They want the larger assignment, but they want to preserve the smaller thinking. They want significant doors, but they do not want to release the internal patterns that belong to survival mode. But chosen ones, what is important cannot rest fully on what is outdated. What is sacredly opening before you demands a different interior posture. The old version of you may have been shaped by fear of being left behind. The old version of you may have begged for scraps because it did not yet trust abundance. The old version of you may have over-explained, over-chased, over-performed, or overcompensated because it believed visibility had to be earned through exhaustion. But if your name has now been spoken in a serious decision, then the old agreements inside you must be broken. You cannot carry self-diminishment into a room where your true value is being recognized. You cannot continue bowing inwardly to rejection when life is beginning to reposition you through deeper affirmation. You cannot drag expired beliefs into an emerging season and expect the new atmosphere to breathe correctly around you. Some parts of your inner world must be released, not because you are being punished, but because your future deserves a version of you that can meet it with wholeness. This is why your current season may feel both beautiful and uncomfortable. Something in you is being stretched away from the familiar. Old emotional reflexes are being exposed. Outdated loyalties are being challenged. Patterns that once helped you survive are now preventing you from receiving. And the more important the decision attached to your name, the more necessary this inner shedding becomes. Do not fear that shedding. There is dignity in outgrowing yourself. There is holiness in no longer fitting into the mentality that once defined your smaller days. There is power in recognizing that what protected you in one season may confine you in another. The life ahead of you cannot be lived with the posture of someone who still thinks they are invisible, unworthy, or accidental. You were not named in that decision to remain psychologically chained to your past. You were named so that your outer life could begin matching a deeper truth your spirit has been learning in silence. That truth is this: you are no longer available for the patterns that made you shrink. You are no longer required to make yourself understandable to every limited mind. You are no longer called to betray your own becoming, just to remain acceptable to environments that only knew the smaller version of you. The mention of your name is a summons, not just a compliment. It is a summons into greater inner responsibility, greater emotional clarity, greater self-respect, greater alignment with what your life is actually trying to become. So let the old self loosen its grip. Let the frightened version speak its last concerns and then fall quiet. Let the exhausted identity that believed everything depended on struggle finally step aside. Let the version of you that was built around postponement, disappointment, and invisibility release the throne. Because what is coming cannot be carried by who you were when you were merely trying to survive. It must be carried by who you are becoming now. Steadier, cleaner, wiser, and more inwardly aligned than ever before. Part 5. Your name was spoken because this is not only about blessing, it is about assignment. Many people hear a message like this and immediately think only of relief, reward, or breakthrough. And yes, there is blessing in this. Yes, there is movement in this. Yes, there is the sweetness of being remembered after a long season of apparent silence. But there is something deeper still. If your name has been spoken in an important decision, it is not only because something is being given to you, it is because something is being entrusted to you. This is the part that transforms the message from comfort into calling. There is a difference between being favored for display and being named for purpose. Display flatters the ego. Purpose awakens the soul. Display wants to be admired. Purpose wants to become useful in the highest sense. And chosen ones, what is gathering around your life is not shallow decoration. It is assignment. It is responsibility. It is legacy beginning to breathe. That is why this moment matters so much. A real assignment is never just about what you receive. It is about what begins flowing through your life because you received rightly. It is about the influence your healing creates, the courage your obedience releases, the permission your transformation gives to other people who are still trapped in smaller stories. It is about the atmosphere you carry into rooms once you finally understand that your life was never meant to be accidental. Your name was spoken because your existence is starting to have consequence beyond your own private narrative. Something about your becoming is meant to alter more than your circumstances. It is meant to alter your field, your household, your connections, your creative output. your leadership, your capacity to model steadiness in unstable times, your ability to hold light without needing to perform brightness, your ability to move with authority without becoming harsh, your ability to receive increase without losing tenderness. That is assignment, and assignment requires maturity. This is why the path has not always been easy. Easy paths often build shallow containers, but your journey has been carving depth into you. It has been teaching you that true authority is not loud. It is rooted, it is clean. It does not need constant announcement because its force comes from alignment, not theater. When such authority begins to form in a person, their name starts carrying a different kind of resonance. So when your name was mentioned in that decision, it was not merely because someone liked you. It was because your life is becoming capable of holding a deeper function. Your name is beginning to signify reliability, gravity, and inner substance. And substance is rare. That is why it gets called upon when something truly important is at stake. Do not underestimate this shift. You are not being invited into a shallow win. You are being invited into a more consequential version of yourself. That may include provision. It may include visibility. It may include opportunity, restoration, or access. But beneath all of that lies the greater truth. Your life is being positioned to matter in a more deliberate way. This is why you must carry what is coming with reverence. Do not trivialize what the unseen has taken seriously. Do not treat lightly what your own becoming has paid dearly to reach. Do not shrink what is sacred into something merely convenient. Let the weight of this moment teach you how to stand straighter, listen deeper, choose better, and guard your inner life more carefully than before. Because once your name is attached to an important decision, your life is no longer only about personal desire. It becomes in part about stewardship. And stewardship is one of the highest forms of spiritual authority. Part 6. The mention of your name is also a healing because it confronts the wound of being overlooked. There is a wound many people carry without ever fully naming it. It is the wound of being unseen. Not physically unseen, but existentially unseen. The wound of feeling that what you carry never gets recognized at the level it deserves. The wound of giving deeply and receiving dismissal. The wound of having value that was repeatedly misread, ignored, delayed, or mishandled. For many chosen ones, this has been one of the oldest sorrows in the story. That is why this message is not only about destiny, it is also about healing. Because when your name is spoken in something important, it does more than open a future. It touches an old ache. It reaches back into the history of silence and whispers. You were not crazy to believe there was more for you. You were not foolish to think your life carried significance. You were not arrogant to sense that what lived inside you was larger than the treatment you received in smaller places. The wound of being overlooked is dangerous because it can quietly distort a soul. It can make you settle where you should have expanded. It can make you doubt your timing, doubt your value, doubt your inner knowing. It can make you explain yourself too much or hide yourself too early. It can make you afraid to hope, because every new hope feels like a setup for another disappointment. But healing begins when reality confronts the old wound with new evidence. And the mention of your name is that kind of evidence. It is evidence that you are not permanently outside the circle of recognition. It is evidence that your life can, in fact, be seen at the right level, by the right eyes, in the right hour. It is evidence that the silence you endured was not the final verdict. It is evidence that what felt forgotten may have simply been maturing beyond the reach of premature handling. This is why the emotional impact of this moment may be deeper than you expect. It is not just excitement, it is restoration, it is the undoing of old narratives that said your sincerity would always be overlooked. Your labor would always go unpaid in meaning. Your gifts would always remain hidden beneath other people's blindness. No, something truer is now pressing forward. Your name was spoken, and for the overlooked parts of your heart, those words land like medicine. Not because you suddenly need external validation to exist, but because there is genuine healing in seeing the world finally confirm what your spirit has carried quietly for so long. There is healing in watching the false story lose power. The false story that said you would always remain on the edge. That said, the important room was for other people. That said, your season would forever belong to waiting, not arrival. Chosen ones, let this heal you properly. Do not rush past the tenderness of it. Let yourself feel what it means to be remembered. Let yourself feel what it means to be considered. Let yourself feel what it means for the old wound of invisibility to lose some of its authority over your reactions. Because when healing enters here, it changes more than your emotions. It changes your posture. A healed person receives differently, chooses differently, trusts differently, discerns differently. They stop chasing crumbs because they no longer believe crumbs are all they deserve. They stop begging to be seen by those committed to blindness. They stop shrinking to fit rooms that were never deep enough for their becoming. Healing is not always dramatic. Sometimes healing sounds like this. Your name was spoken where it mattered. And when that truth sinks in, something quiet but irreversible begins inside you. The orphaned feeling recedes. The inner exile starts ending. The fear that you will always be passed over loses credibility. Because now there is evidence, and evidence heals what endless reassurance never could. Part 7. What you must do now is stand in quiet authority and prepare for arrival. Once you understand that your name has already been spoken in an important decision, the question becomes, how do you live now? Not in theory, not in emotion alone, but in practice, in posture, in daily inner alignment. Because revelation without embodiment can become wasted wonder. And this message is not meant to leave you amazed only for a moment. It is meant to reshape the way you carry yourself from this point forward. First, stand in quiet authority. Not arrogance, not performance, not inflated self-importance. Quiet authority, the kind that does not need to convince everyone, because it has already stopped arguing with its own worth. The kind that does not chase every distraction because it knows something real is already in motion. The kind that can remain calm in the middle of unfolding change because it understands that panic is not preparation. Quiet authority begins with inner agreement. Agree with the truth that your life is not being handled randomly. Agree with the truth that your season is changing, even if every detail has not yet appeared. Agree with the truth that you do not have to force what has already been spoken into motion at the correct level. Agree with the truth that your responsibility now is not to become frantic, but to become ready. Readiness matters. Prepare your spirit to receive without self-sabotage. Prepare your mind to think beyond scarcity. Prepare your habits to support the future that is approaching. Prepare your boundaries so that new movement is not consumed by old access. Prepare your language so that your mouth does not keep cursing what your deeper life is trying to build. Prepare your environment so that when the next step becomes visible, you are not still clinging to the debris of expired seasons. This is how chosen ones honor the unseen before it becomes seen. They prepare. Preparation is faith, with its sleeves rolled up. It is the act of making inner and outer room for what has already begun in the invisible. It is the refusal to wait passively for life to change while remaining unchanged yourself. It is the willingness to embody the future before the future fully announces itself. Not through delusion, but through alignment. through steadiness, through disciplined openness. And while you prepare, guard your energy. Not every conversation deserves access to what is unfolding in you. Not every doubting voice deserves explanation. Not every old pattern deserves one more chance to delay your next chapter. There are seasons when sacred movement must be protected from unnecessary noise. This may be one of them. Hold your peace carefully. Hold your discernment closely. Hold your inner climate with reverence. You do not need to make a spectacle of becoming. You need to remain true while becoming unfolds. And when the visible confirmation comes, receive it with gratitude, not shock. Receive it with groundedness, not chaos. Receive it with maturity, not self-abandonment. Let the arrival of what was spoken over your name find you centered enough to carry it beautifully, because that is the deeper victory. Not merely that your name was mentioned, but that when the consequence of that mention reaches you, it finds you ready. Ready in your mind, ready in your spirit, ready in your boundaries, ready in your humility, ready in your courage, ready in your inner seat of authority. Chosen ones, this is your instruction now. Do not shrink, do not scramble, do not return to the language of doubt. Stand, prepare, listen, align, protect the atmosphere of your becoming. The decision has already begun moving in your favor at a level deeper than appearances can measure. Now your task is to live like someone whose name has already been called. Closing. Chosen ones, hear this final declaration with the full weight of your spirit. Your life is not standing at the edge of nothing. It is standing at the edge of confirmation. Something important has already shifted. A decision has already felt gravity of your name. A threshold has already registered your existence. A chamber of consequence has already opened enough to let your essence be considered there. And that changes everything. Do not go back to speaking about yourself as though you are forgotten. Do not return to the mindset that says nothing is happening. Do not kneel before delay, as if delay were your destiny. Your destiny is not delay. Your destiny is alignment fulfilled at the appointed hour. Your destiny is the revealing of what was forming in silence. Your destiny is the arrival of what had your name attached to it before you ever saw the first sign. Your destiny is to rise into the kind of life that does not merely comfort your pain, but transforms your entire way of standing in the world. Let this be the line in the sand. Let this be the hour you stop treating your own becoming like a rumor. Let this be the moment you accept that what has been happening beneath the surface is real, deliberate, and powerful. Your name was spoken in that decision, not accidentally, not weakly, not as an afterthought. It was spoken because your journey has gathered meaning. It was spoken because your spirit has carried weight. It was spoken because your silence was not empty. Your waiting was not pointless. Your shaping was not wasted. And your becoming has reached a threshold where the unseen can no longer keep pretending you are not ready. So rise inwardly. Rise in the way you think. Rise in the way you speak. Rise in the way you protect your peace. Rise in the way you prepare for what is approaching. Rise in the way you honor your own soul. And when the visible world catches up to what has already been spoken, do not act surprised that the path opened. Remember this message. Remember this atmosphere. Remember that before the evidence came, the word had already gone ahead of you. If this message reached you at the exact right time, like this video, subscribe, activate the notification bell, leave a comment, and share this video with someone whose spirit needs to hear that their name has not been lost in the silence. Let this message travel where it is meant to travel, because some messages are not merely heard, they are appointed, and this one came for you.